evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our August 8th commission meeting. And at this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And if you would stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Please stand for 10 seconds and hope that it rains so that it's not so hot. How about that? Thank you. May be seated. Lauren, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner McCall?
Here.
Commissioner Hosford?
Here.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Here.
Vice Mayor Bond?
I am here.
Mayor Kennedy?
Here. Thank you. I'd like to tell you today, if my mom was alive, she'd been gone for 2 years, she would have been 100 years old. Can you believe that? She lived in her own house on Sand Key to the very last moment and was not sick until 2 months before she passed. And she was an avid Rays fan, so after she passed, we're cleaning out. She had these 11 by 14s. She had all the games. She watched every single one. She knew who won. She knew all the players. She had Evan Longoria everywhere. So I'm remembering her today, and she was very tough. Sometimes she was a PIA, totally. Never let me get away with anything. Made sure that I toed the line. Very strong Italian. And I wrote on Facebook today that Bill Hanna's not here, but he knew her well. And everybody, if they know my brothers and sisters or my son and her other grandchildren, they all have a story about her because she was quite a character. So thinking about her today and how we all remember our parents, no matter how old you are, you still want your parents, And I had a lot of people say, you had her for a long time. And I said, I think that made it worse, that I had her for so long, being the baby and stuff. So just throwing that out there for a little conversation about family. With that, I'm going to go to the presentation. If someone from the Sheriff's Department would like to come forward, their report is always on our website. And 15 minutes before the meeting starts, they are here to talk to you privately if you have anything that you'd like to discuss with them. Hi.
Hi, good evening. Corporal Min, Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. Just going over our crime statistics. So for the month of June, our deputies responded to 106 events occurring for property and persons crimes. A total of 27 people were arrested for various charges consisting of assault, burglary, domestic-related incidents, warrants, driving with suspended license, possession of drug paraphernalia, and narcotics as well. A total of 4 crashes in the city, occurring at various locations of Dalton Boulevard. A total of 280 citations and warnings were issued in the month of June. Tallying that up would be Gulf Boulevard and 9th Avenue with a total of 5 traffic citations at that location. And there was a total of 1,081 events occurring in the city of Indian Rocks. Any questions?
Any questions?
Did you have a golf cart incident in La Hacienda last month?
I don't recall that, but I can find out.
Okay.
Yeah. You said it was on La Hacienda?
Yes.
Okay. I'll take a look and see if I can find that for you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Report of the Pinellas Central Fire and Rescue, Chief Jeff.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. This is a monthly report for the month of July. In July, there were 68 calls for emergency services into Indian Rocks Beach for fire and EMS. Our monthly training, we started including the training hours in our inspection reports, the recommendations of our auditor. When we had a comprehensive review done, they recommended that we put into our training hours. So we're going to do that. In July, we had 394 fire training hours, 161 medical training hours, combined total 555.7 hours of training for the fire department. In our fire prevention division for July, we did 68 annual inspections with 127 re-inspections for a total of 195 inspections with 210 violations cited. In public education, we had 35 contacts for public education in July. And in our EMS division, all of our firefighters and paramedics completed 8 hours of advanced cardiac life support training in July as part of their annual and biannual recertification in EMS training. With that, I wanted to mention that our life safety inspection program for short-term rentals is up and running. In the back, I left on the table a list of frequently asked questions as well as some checklists, some sample checklists for single-family homes and multi-family homes. All the owners need to register with us and schedule their inspections on our website, which is psfrd.org, Middleton Coast Fire Rescue District.org. You can find all the information on there. It's a very simple process, and we're available whenever it's convenient for the owners. We try to be very flexible so we can schedule those at their convenience. Also, on September 11th will be our second annual September 11th Memorial Walk, where last year was our first annual, so this is our second annual, where we walked 3.43 miles. Started up at Bel Air Beach City Hall, and we haven't published the route yet. We got to map that out again this year. We're going to come through to Indian Rocks Beach, of course. And the 3.43 miles represents the 343 firefighters that perished on September 11th. So we invite all of the community to come out and walk with us the entire way, walk with us part of the way, drive by and beep and wave, and be a supporter. But I'll get that information out. It was a really good event. Last year we had about 80 citizens that joined us in the walk, and it was pretty cool. We'll see.
Are you doing it right on 9/11?
Yes, ma'am. That's the plan.
What time?
Early? Oh, yeah, I hope like it was last time.
We wanted to get started as early as possible. You didn't notice it's very hot out, and yes, it's hot outside. So we're going to try to do that. We haven't finalized everything yet, but we'll get that out. But I think last year we started at 7:30 in the morning.
Okay.
You know, not too early,
Right.
you know, but
For
you
Joe
know,
it is, but, for the rest of it's not.
yeah. So I'll get that out. We'll email that out and we'll put it on our Facebook and that. But if anybody has any questions, there's some information in the back on the tables there. Again, with the short-term rental inspections, we're working very closely with Greg Mims and his staff to coordinate to make it as easy as possible, simple as possible for the owners and their managers, things like that.
Any questions for GBS? Thank you, Joe.
Have a
I
good
did
evening.
want to say to you though that we brought the dogs to the
Yes.
walk. There was, I heard what, 65 dogs or something?
There was, I was out of town that week.
Oh my gosh.
But I saw the pictures, I heard it was a great event, I think it's something that they want to do, it was about 60 something.
And no, there was no fights, no dog fights. They had all the dog pools in a row. There was like 10 of them. It was awesome.
It was pretty cool, and that was put on by the fire union, they did that on their own. We just supported that, it was a great community event, I think there was about 68. And I'm not sure, we've had some inquiries lately, got one today. They're going to be putting out a dog calendar and to support, not exactly sure what charities they decided on or how they're deciding on with 68 dogs, how they're having, a 12-month calendar or 13-month calendar, whatever they do. But I think it's some type of raffle or something like that they're just going to randomly pick, But we'll get those out as well. So it's something that they're going to continue to do. And then we have tentatively for October, last year was our first fall festival that we did at Station 28 on the mainland, and that was really, really cool event. Probably 150 kids were there. We're going to do that again this year, and then by this time next year, that mainland station will be fully under construction. So we should have that project underway in the next 3 months. Not good. You got it. Thank you.
Any questions? Well, good. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 2, public comment. Each speaker has 3 minutes. Any member of the audience may come forward, give their name and address, and state any comment or concern they have regarding any matter over which the City Commission has control, excluding agenda items. All statements made to the City Commission shall be made to the City Commission as a whole, not directed to any individual City Commission member, and no impertinent or slanderous remarks shall be permitted. No speaker shall be interrupted, and no debate shall occur between the speaker and the City Commission. At this time, is there anyone who would like to come forward?
Don House, 2104 Beach Drive. I came to talk about sand. So anyway, there was a meeting at the Big C a couple of weeks ago. Only 2 of us in the room were there, eating cookie. Everybody else was there, so I thought I'd give a little recap. She can give her recap and see we're pretty much probably on the same page. The bottom line is, there were 2 people from the county giving a recap there. A lady that did a lot of spreadsheets on the cost, money, how it would cost to do everything, the re-nourishment, the beach nourishment, and a gentleman that talked about the legalities and what happens if the county takes over. If the county takes over nourishing the sand, we're screwed. That's all. That's the bottom line. The Army Corps will not step that back in. We're pretty much on our own from then on out. He's wrong about that, but we'll get to that in a minute. But his thing was if the county takes over the nourishment of the sand on the beach, it opens up a quagmire of rules and legalities of what happens in the future. One of the comments that he made, which he said that our Mayor Cookie and her entourage that went up to D.C. actually made it worse. Now, this is not a reflection on Cookie. I mean, fighting for what we need, that's not a reflection. What a reflection of is the Army Corps of Engineers, is the 12-year-old with the freaking football, and they're making their own rules. They have changed the rules over and over again. They keep moving the goalposts. The county has finally admitted that the reason they're asking for these easements is not legal. They do not have the legal right to do that. It is a policy that they have adopted that they do not legally have the right to do. When asked by members of the Big C who oversees them, the guy from the county says, well, nobody. It goes up to the president. That's wrong. This guy was ignorant of who oversees it. There is a committee in the Congress, in the Senate, and in the House of Representatives, each of which oversees the Army Corps of Engineers. So if they're, unfortunately, in the state of Florida, we only have one person on those 2 committees combined, and she's in love with the Everglades. She does a great job on the Everglades, but she's not concerned about the beach, all right? So the fact that this is our representation up there with these, and that is the problem with what's going on up there. We don't have a whole lot going on there. So it was brought up also about eminent domain, and the county guy responded that, well, the county would be in court for 25 to 30 years and probably still would not have that going on. There is a fine line. I don't know if anybody knows this, but if the beach, they keep talking about when the storm comes through and takes it all the way back to the past the ECL, okay? The state of Florida has in their law, the state of Florida is responsible for protecting our natural resources. Once it crosses the ECL, as a homeowner on the beach, I have the right to demand the state to put back the sand there to the ECL. If they don't, I can do whatever I want out there. Here's the other thing that's very critical that everybody should know, all right? In May, the Army Corps of Engineers redefined the ECL. Some of y'all know where I live. You've been there, all right. If you step off my seawall and you start walking toward toward the Gulf, your first 10, 12 steps, you're on private property. That's private beach. That is law, okay? When you get to the ECL and cross that, that's public beach. Now, I talked to Greg about a month and a half ago when the Army Corps of Engineers redefined the ECL as the mean high tide. Do y'all know what that means? It means that the mean high tide is now the ECL. That is private beach. The mean. I bought pennants and flags and stakes to put out to show what would happen if the beach turns all private. We don't want that to happen. We would be Bel Air on steroids, okay? So I wanted to demonstrate like this, but I keep thinking, why am I fighting this? We need to fight this together. You know, you call us SFAs, and we are SFAs. We're the smartest FAs. You know, we know what's going on there. We need to fight this. The bottom line is, and I want to say this right here, right now, the city, the big C, the county, the state, everybody has to sue the Army Corps of Engineers for their misinterpretation. They have said they will not put sand on private land. And that is, they cannot. That is the Water Resources Management Act. Does not allow them to put sand on private beaches. But we don't have private beaches. We don't have private beaches in Rocks Beach. We don't. There might be 20 feet down at the south end, maybe, but we don't have private beaches. Well, you should be fighting them. You should be demanding it. You should sue the Army Corps of Engineers. Okay, Cookie? Now, if I missed something, please point it out. I think I got it right.
Is there anyone else who'd like to come up with this comment? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public comment. And sure, does anyone else want to come up? Everybody good? Okay, I'm going to close the public comment. And with that, we will start with our city attorney, Randy Moore.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. By way of update, a few things as it relates to the short-term rental ordinance. Your manager will update you on the status of its administration. As you all know, on or about July 18th, we received a litigation demand from one party, from one law firm, allegedly representing upwards of 300 property owners who may interpose legal challenges to the city's short-term rental ordinance adopted in May. We've received at least one notice purporting to be a Burt Harris Act notice. We've also been served, or are in the process of being served, with a complaint that has already been filed with the court, alleging at least 5, maybe 6, depending on how you read it, causes of action. The city has contacted its carrier, and they are tendering a defense. I am in the process of coordinating with Insurance Defense Counsel to discuss the city's ordinance and steps forward and how the city intends to respond. I'm not going to materially comment on the litigation at this point, except to say that absent direction to the contrary, we intend to defend the city's position on the adoption of its ordinance. And when I say direction to the contrary, of course, policymakers, you can give us some insights there if you desire. I'm not requesting you necessarily to see something different, but that is the direction we're presently going in. Separately, as you see tonight, we'll be talking about a recent change in the law as it relates to golf carts. By way of reminder, and I thank you, by the way, for the indulgence of having a colleague attend the July meeting. I try to take at least maybe 2 days a year that I'm not doing this. And so I did not have the opportunity to give my usual end of session update. While we talked throughout session about a lot of different things, I think there's a few that are particularly poignant to note here. First is the passage and signing of Senate Bill 250. Senate Bill 250, as you folks should be aware, is a statute that prohibits any community from adopting more burdensome or restrictive land development regulations or comprehensive plan amendments if that community is within 100 miles of the landfall of Hurricane Ian. And that is measured linearly, or as some say, as the crow flies. We are within that 100-mile range as we sit here. We're probably like mile 92, but we're there. Consequently, that limits the kinds of ordinances you will likely see going forward. That limitation, or I should say that restriction, the way it reads is any more restrictive or burdensome land development code or comprehensive plan amendment that is adopted is void ab initio, meaning void from its inception. And that applies for the period beginning September 28th, 2022 to October of 2024. So that is retroactive to the landfall of Hurricane Ian and goes forward at least until October of next year. So that will necessarily limit what you folks see in the way of ordinances and also what your planning and zoning board sees in the ways of proposals. That's not to say no business can be done, but it certainly limits business. And that's one measure to consider there. Another that was passed during the legislative session is Senate Bill 170. Senate Bill 170, for your purposes in terms of something that will start looking different going forward, is with some exceptions, and there are exceptions to be sure. There are ordinances will now require some form of business impact statement. There is not a suggested format, but there is suggested content, and your city manager and I are working together to make sure we're ready when that comes in terms of what kinds of templates we may use to conduct that analysis. It does not call for the retention of an economist or anything of the sort. However, it does require some analysis to be done. So Senate Bill 170, in addition to having some other, in addition to requiring a business impact statement, also extends the ability for parties who pursue attorney's fees to secure them not only if they are challenging an ordinance as expressly preempted, but also if an ordinance adopted after October 1, 2023 is unreasonable or arbitrary, and you know those are not defined terms, just like restrictive and burdensome in Senate Bill 250 are not defined. That's not saying they're incapable of being determined, but they're not defined specifically in those enactments. So you can recover attorney's fees in those contexts up to $50,000. Another one, and I'm not remembering the bill number as I sit here now, but I want to say it was Senate Bill 70. I could be wrong about that, but the bill that adopted the Form 6 requirement, which I've separately provided you a memorandum on financial disclosure going forward for elected officials who are serving after January 1 on or after January 1, 2024, that there are enhanced financial disclosure requirements. And again, I've provided you a memo on that. So wanted to make sure you're aware of some of the ways that your job is changing, some of the ways that what you're seeing in the way we do business may change in the coming months as a result of those enactments. Since this is the time when I usually talk, I also wish to note for you that on Thursday and Friday this week, I will be in Orlando at the Florida League of Cities annual conference. On Thursday, I will be giving the 4-hour presentation on ethics, public records, and sunshine to train officials to fulfill that requirement, which incidentally you certify that you've done that on Form 6. And Form 1 for this year if you haven't filed it yet, which please do that if you haven't already. And then on Friday as well on issues concerning public meetings. And so if you haven't already and are looking for something to do with your week, you're certainly free to register for the conference, but otherwise I will be there doing that. And always a pleasure to serve here and happy to answer any questions you folks may have.
Any questions for Randy? Any questions? I did ask you this, but I want to ask you in front. So as far as if someone comes in that is looking for attorney's fees and they lose, do we get our attorney's fees back? That was my question to you.
So the ability for a government and a governmental entity to recover attorney's fees from their opposing litigant is often much harder. It's usually more towards the plaintiff than the defendant side. That's not to say that it's impossible. There is a means for securing attorney's fees, for example, if several boxes are checked in a Byrd-Harris Act case where the jurisdiction prevails. However, I can tell you that I'm not aware of any judicial opinion where that matter has been litigated. Parties settle sometimes after judgments are entered. I know my firm did represent a jurisdiction that was legally pursuing its fees, and ultimately the parties resolved it, and that matter was not adjudicated by the court. So I'm not aware of a situation where that's been litigated and analyzed, and to say that all those boxes are checked and it should have been awarded. Outside of the Burt Harris Act context, far less of a chance, I would say, not likely. Again, it's going to depend on the cases that are brought and the claims within them. While we do have a letter that purports to be from hundreds of litigants, a lot of those claims are going to be specific to each property that is making the claim. If it is, for example, the Burt Harris claim, that's analyzed property by property, appraisal by appraisal, zoning districts, all those things are relevant. So you'll be looking at, a 1983 case, for example, the constitutional claims, very unlikely. So no, I would not rely on the likelihood that were the city to prevail, it's likely to recover its fees. I'm not saying it's altogether impossible, but it's not probable.
Any other questions? Thank you. We'll leave this to the last one. Greg, our city manager, do you have any, would you like to make comments?
Oh, I got one thing.
Okay, go for it.
It's all in big type. As you get older, you have to do bigger.
Gotcha. None of us are that old. So.
Code enforcement set for this previous month, 7 notice of violation letters, 6 notices to appear, 67 parking citations, and that does not include what the sheriff's office did. I do want to give kind of an update on the implementation of the new vacation rental ordinance. Asked everybody, the staff today, what the numbers were looking like. The ordinance officially went into effect on October 1st. There's 32 vacation rental applications either approved or in the process right now, and we have discussions on the hour with people that are filling out paperwork. So people are actively, attempting to come in compliance with the new ordinance by the forms, and we do the required inspections. So there's 32 right now. One thing that Randy mentioned earlier, there's video that I saw of a gentleman who did a television interview that made reference to our ordinance. And I just want to publicly address this on the record. The ordinance that the commission adopted, the vacation rental ordinance, does not require that a vacation rental property comply with current electrical, human sample, like electrical, building, and plumbing codes. It does not do that. We've never had the ability to do that. And it was just said as a matter of fact that that's what the requirement was. In fact, I was made aware of a lot of factual information on Facebook that we hadn't noticed. And somebody put out today as a fact that how terrible this was, that the ordinance required somebody with a 1950s house to check out all their wiring and plumbing to comply with modern standards. There's nothing in the ordinance like that. But and in saying that, what it does not weigh is if somebody's got a violation in their property that deals with FEMA requirements and habitable areas, particularly where somebody has gone in and has illegally converted their renovations to make a ground floor area into like a living space. So when we inspect those properties and we run into that kind of situation, that'll be something we'll have to deal with. But I just want to make perfectly clear that the ordinance that the commission adopted does not require an owner to take a year in an older structure to go in and rip out wiring, plumbing, that it does not do that. Had questions about when's the ordinance in when is it in effect? It's in effect now. Our commitment to the people that are in vacation rental businesses to work with them, and as long as people are taking active steps to come to compliance, that's what we're after is compliance. I would think probably later on, probably in the next month or two, through our monthly communication to the almost 400 that we have registered with us prior to the adoption of the ordinance, there'll be communication to actually get those folks to come on in and fill out the new forms and come in compliance with the new ordinance. But as long as people are making efforts to comply, I think that's what we're going to do. Next, on the week of August the 21st, there'll be a meeting in City Hall with IRB team members, staff members that are involved in implementing the ordinance and particularly the new special magistrate process that we're going to put in place. That'll be headed up and coordinated by Randy's firm, either Randy or somebody in his firm, because we're about to queue up the whole special magistrate process. We have one property in town that's been a lingering issue that we seem to we're not able to resolve. We keep mowing the property, do different things. So that probably be one of the first that will go there, and then probably several other properties, including some of the ones that we sent notices to not 3 or 4 months ago about some FEMA issues. So the training's going to happen on that week, and then we'll go through all the proper procedures to kick off the special magistrate. That'll be the magistrate will operate out of the auditorium. Those cases will all be scheduled during work hours, and we'll get ready to kick off. At the September 12th meeting, Scott Dudley of the Florida League of Cities will be here, and he's going to go over the highlights of the new program the league has called Local Voices United, and it's dedicated to cities and citizens, particularly supporting home rule. It's a simplified explanation. It's a place where citizens can register with the league, and then when the legislature is in session, if there's a bill or some kind of thing pending up there that's going to affect people at home, and particularly home rule, they will email the person that's on their list. They'll even provide formatted letters that would go to like whatever committee it is. We know we did last year, but this is more an organized thing about the league. So Scott Dudley will be here on the 12th to go over it. We've already provided a link on the city's website to the league for this program, so people can go over there now and even sign up to become a part of it. And there's a video on the link. It's like a minute and 50-something seconds from the gentleman who's the president of League of Cities that really explains the whole program very well. But Scott will be here on the 12th. The budget process, we're well into that. Finance and budget committee now on July the 12th, and reviewed the proposed 2023-24 general fund, solid waste fund, and the CIP, and recommended no changes to proposed budget to the city commission. The chair of the committee was at the city commission budget work session that we had on July the 25th. At the conclusion of the city commission budget work session meeting, the commission made no changes to the proposed budget. One of the highlights of the budget is for the public's benefit is that the tentative mill rate was set at 1.73, which is down from 1.83, and that's the third mill rate reduction since 2017. The next steps for the budget is September 6th and September 20th. There's 2 required public hearings, both of those start at 6. They'll be back in this room, and that'll kind of wrap up that process. On July the 19th, the city, along with IRB chairs, unveiled a beach-inspired postcard at Pinellas County Beach Access. I had it in here with one of our meetings a couple months ago. It's a life-size postcard for photo ops for all to enjoy, and I was going to publicly thank Mike and IRB chairs for participating in the cost of that. And the last thing, this is a housekeeping measure. There was a question earlier about whether there was an event or some type of law enforcement public safety on a particular street. Anytime you get an email, you see something on Facebook and it's public safety related and you want information, just call me, text me, and I'll immediately look that up for you and get the information because I can get that very quickly. So just feel free to always contact me and I'll be happy to see what I can find out for you. And on that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Anything I covered or things I didn't cover.
Anyone have any questions? Lance?
We had talked about a third party actually coming in. Has that already been integrated and we're using the third party for STR?
No, that's part of the budget you'll adopt that we're going to affect on October the 1st.
Okay, so we're waiting for the budget and then it'll fall into
Yeah,
place.
and then really,
Okay.
for implementation purposes, it's really that fits perfectly because it gives the staff time, put everything in place to to get the 400 or so that we have in the system now, registered, officially registered, and we can transition into the bigger list. And one bit of homework that I have, because Joe's looking at me now, from the budget meeting, is that I will, either at the budget public hearings or prior to that, I'll send you that kind of laundry list of what they provide, because as we talked about before, they provide a 24-hour phone number and those kind of things as part of that. But that will be part of the new budget, when that will be.
October 1st.
Yeah.
Leah, anything else?
And then
Otherwise, anyone else, everybody good?
Well, I did read an article in the Tampa Bay Times today about what Don House is talking about. And one excerpt in here was very interesting. It says, in a statement to the Tampa Bay Times on Tuesday, the Army Corps of Engineers Jacksonville office said it is working with Pinellas County officials toward a mutually acceptable resolution that will clear the way for renourishment projects. But then no other mayors are going like, yeah, they contacted, no, there's nothing happening. But
No.
they're saying mutually acceptable resolution.
I haven't read that article, so.
They're
Anonymous source.
I can comment during our things in a minute, but are we done with, is there anyone?
Well,
else?
that's brought that up.
Do you want to say something about that?
I mean, there's a variety of things going on privately behind the scenes to
Right.
try to resolve this. Now, whether that works or not, let me just, in my opinion, make it clear one thing. It is true that there's Senate committees, House of Representative committees that oversee, federal departments, with the Corps of Engineers being one. Those committees do not give directions to the Corps of Engineers about what their administrative policies are. They don't have that ability. What they do have the ability is that they can cut their budgets or whatever. There's one person that sits at the top that can direct, but they don't, in other words, it's like my position as a department head that implements a policy that they're not allowed to do that I don't agree with. I can direct them not to do it. But House and Senate committees in D.C. have budget oversight and kind of operational review, but they can't, a committee can't look at a department head level person, including the Corps, which is a general, by the way, and say like, you shall not implement, or you're going to rewrite this policy. That's not how that works.
Anything else for Greg at this time? Hearing none, we will start with Commissioner McCall. Do you have anything you'd like to add tonight?
I have no report tonight, thank you.
Wow, okay. Denise? I also have nothing to report. Okay.
I'm going to follow the consensus with nothing to report.
This is very scary. I'm a little scared of this.
I've been really busy. But I have nothing.
What I would like to say about the beach renourishment is this, so that everybody's clear on this. It wasn't my entourage, just so you know that. I was invited by the county to go with Kelly Levy, who is a scientist. She's the head of public works, to go to Washington. Janet Long, who is our county commissioner and the chair, invited Greg and I were at a meeting, and it was decided then that I would travel with the group from the county. We did meet with, we were in the West Wing, many of you know that, and we met for over an hour and a half with the intergovernmental affairs person. Her name was Julie Chavez Rodriguez. And we stirred things up with the Corps of Engineers, I will say that. And that was predominantly what the county administrator said. Since then, 10 other beach counties, or coastal counties, have now been denied the waiver like we were. As our city manager said, none of us are giving up. I was interviewed on the beach 2 weeks ago by one of our reporters, Josh, and he said since the waiver was denied, are you done? Well, really, never done. I grew up here, we've all been here, our other neighbors out here, we fight. And we will continue to be engaged. And we're looking at many different avenues, and so is the county. There is differences of opinion on whether the county taking over the project and how in the future that would affect beach renourishment in years to come concerning the Corps. One of the things that the county is doing right now is they are applying for the permits. And the Corps had already, the permits were already in place by the Corps. So now if the county is going to try to do steps to move forward, that it could take many, many months. They did mention at the Big C that they are trying to expedite that situation as far as the permits go. It's a $57 million project, and I'm trying to be very explicit on what I'm saying so that anything that I say is not misconstrued by anybody. So that's why I'm hesitating when I'm talking here. 98.6% of the beaches are on public property. They are not on private property. We believe that our situation in Pinellas County is unique. I don't know the other situations for the other 10 counties. We believe that with 1.4% that it is on private, we believe you should have your easements if you are on private property. So, all of that being said, we are continuing to work on it. Nobody's giving up anything. We're looking at every avenue that's possible. We're looking back up in Washington at the Corps. The only thing I can say about the comment that was made is, so the Corps has an office in Jacksonville. That's who we deal with when we do our projects here. Project managers, everyone. The Jacksonville office absolutely wants us to have this project. This was not decided by the Jacksonville office. They were the ones that helped us to even get in a place that we could have a waiver. And then, because we were denied, then the waiver came up. And they greatly believe in Pinellas County and that we need this project done in our communities. On a side note, Greg Mims and I traveled with a group from Clearwater and Treasure Island, and the commission knows that. And we went down to Sanibel, and Greg had been to Fort Myers Beach, is that correct? And our city, our county, is the most densely populated county in the entire state of Florida. We're not the biggest, but we are the most densely populated. Our conversation together on the way home, just thinking about everything that we saw, was when Hurricane Ian hit, I don't even think there was 3,000 people on the entire island. Well, we have that many people in Indian Rocks Beach. So the fact of the matter is that it would be incredibly devastating to all of the beach communities. And this issue is just not about the beaches. This issue is about our entire Pinellas County. We are a peninsula on a peninsula. Our county commissioner, Janet Long, she's very, that's one of her big pieces that she talks about. And she talks about, we have created a habitat for the turtles. We have hundreds of species of birds that come here. This isn't just, the major issue is safety for all, really. We have, and including our residents who live here. So All I can say without reading that entire letter is, I believe that Jacksonville is with us. And just one other note is, the reason that this started was when Hurricane Sandy, that many of you may know, happened in New Jersey, up in the Northeast. And once the hurricane was over, those properties were private, it was private property, and they did not have the easements. And this was how the lawyers for the Corps of Engineers in Washington made a blanket decision that all renourishment projects would have to have easement signed for private property. And so that's why we knew we weren't going to, and as when we were in Washington and we were with Julie Chavez Rodriguez and her entire team in the West Wing, said this was a set us up for failure. You know, we are doing our underground utilities, okay, as an example, and we have one area that there was a family dispute that would take down their utility pole. And there was nothing, I mean, we all went there, we all went to try to, and it had absolutely nothing to do with, it was a family dispute, it had nothing to do with what we were trying to do. So here we have this, we're going down Indian Rasputia, we're doing the underground utilities, and this pole is not found. And that's, I use that as an example because when this all came up, that was the first thing that I thought of. There will always be one who's not going to sign. And so, you know, that's happening. And the sad thing about that, which I feel terrible about, is we do have two cities that every home did sign. But because this is a sand key drainage project, all of the beaches, 8.5 miles are included in that, then if one doesn't do it, everybody pays. So that's where we're at. You guys have any other questions? But I do want you to know that we are working on things behind the scenes. We're trying to be very innovative, out of the box. You know, it was out of the box for us to even go to Washington. And we met with Anna Luna was there, we had Kathy Castor. Everybody's involved now. Everybody's on board. We're all working together to try to get this straightened out, and nobody's giving up. So I felt it was important to say that. I don't know. That's how I perceive what happened at the Big C, and that's how I can answer that question. Okay. Thank you. If anybody's okay, we'll just move forward. I'm looking for additions and deletions, and I believe we have one deletion tonight. Lauren?
Yes, we have a appeal. The BOA case number 2023-05 at 461 Harvard Drive South will be scheduled for a later date.
Okay. Randy, would you like to read the consent agenda?
Happily, Madam Mayor, there are 6 items on the consent agenda. Item A, approval of the June 13, 2023 regular city commission meeting minutes. Item B, approval of the July 11, 2023 regular city commission meeting minutes. Item C, authorizing the city manager to sign an employment agreement with the city clerk, Lauren A. Kornichuk. Item D, reappointment to the Board of Adjustment and Appeals for Stuart DeVore. Sorry, there's been some items added, I will read those. Item D, reappointment to the Board of Adjustment and Appeals, Stuart DeVore, as a regular board member for a 2-year term expiring June 30, 2025. Item E, reappointment to the Planning and Zoning Board for Dave Mott from first alternate to regular member for a 2-year term expiring June 30, 2025. Item F, accepting and filing the June 2023 year-to-date financial report. 3 additional items. Item G, approval of the July 25, 2023 special city commission meeting minutes. Item H, confirming action taken during the July 25th, 2023 special city commission meeting. Item I, approval of the July 25th, 2023 city commission budget work sessions. Did I miss any items or miss anything?
I do want to clear up one Scrivener's error on there, is that the employment agreement will be signed by the mayor, not just for the record.
Yeah, apologies, thank you for that, for the city mayor to sign the employment agreement with the city clerk, Lauren Hornchuk. With that, those are items A through I on the consent agenda.
Thank you. And do we have a motion?
I'll motion to approve consent agenda.
I'll second the motion. Any comments? Lauren?
Welcome, Lauren. I guess any comments since I was not here.
And I can't wait to sign it.
Thank you. So recall, Commissioner McCall,
Yes.
Commissioner Husband,
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bond,
Yes.
Mayor Kirby.
Yes, thank you, Lauren. We'll move on to public hearings, 6A, BOA case number 2023-04. Randy, would you like to read this in its entirety?
Not in its entirety, but I will read that. Board of Adjustment case number 2023-04. This is for 449 Harbor Drive South, considering a variance request from section 94-86 of A sub 1 of the Code of Ordinances of 9 feet into the required 12-foot side setback, resulting in a total setback of 3 feet on the northwest side for the installation of a new boat lift for property located at 449 Harbor Drive South in Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, and legally described as Lot 17, 19th edition, a re-revised map of Indian Beach recorded in Plat Book 36, page 37 of the Public Records of Pinellas County, Florida, parcel 06-30-15-4237-2000170. This is a quasi-judicial proceeding. In the quasi-judicial proceeding, this body is no longer making law, but applying the law of its code to the competent substantial evidence presented to you this evening. Before we proceed, I must first ask if any member of this board has had any ex parte communications with the applicant or agent or any other party to this proceeding. No. All having responded in the negative, has any board member or commission member conducted any site visit for the limited purpose of evaluating this application? No. Having responded in the negative, will anybody who intends to offer any testimony for the hearing on 449 Harbor Drive South, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you are going to give tonight is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you. All having been sworn, Ms. Harmon, I turn to you.
Okay, this is for a variance application for 449 Harbor Drive South. You can see the existing dock here. They would like to remove the jet ski lift and put another lift on the other side for another boat. This is the actual survey of the property. And this is the proposal here of what the dock would look like with a 3-foot variance for the side setback. Also, both neighbors did sign off on the application that they did not have any objections to this. The Board of Adjustment denied the request 5-0, and the staff requested, recommended denial.
Does anyone have any questions for Hetty at this time before I bring up the applicant?
Did the board give any criteria for their decision?
On a variance application, the application either meets the ordinance or does not. So therefore, the board does not give criteria. Because they're evaluating whether they met whether the applicant's come to.
Like it or not?
Yeah, it's up to the applicant to prove the hardship, not the board to reverse.
Anyone else at this time? Would the applicant like to come forward and state your name and your address?
Barry living here at 449 Harbor Drive South.
If you move the mic down, just makes a clear record.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Want to say it one more time?
Barry living here at 449 Harbor Drive South in Indian Rocks Beach.
Do you want to, Barry, do you want to just give us kind of a go-through on this variance and kind of tell us where you're at?
Well, we bought the house and we built the dock, and I had my fishing boat, and my wife wanted her dock that was to sit out there. And she realized that she doesn't like going out on my fishing boat, so she wanted me to buy her a boat. And she basically kicked me off of my lift. And my boat sits at my shop now. And I don't ever use it because it's sitting there and it's too hard. I'm getting too old to trailer a boat to a boat lift. So I just would love to get it home. Me and my sons built my fishing boat together. And we used to fish a lot of tournaments. And now we're not doing that no more. And I would just really like to get my boat back home so we could start enjoying something that me and my sons always wanted to do.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions that they want to ask? First of all, so do you have a hardship? Because in order to have a variance, you have to have some kind of a hardship. And emotional is not like...
Oh, I mean, are you saying like, what, to afford to do something different? I'm not.
Does anyone want to explain this?
No, because it's the applicant's responsibility. He's filed an application and listed in his application with the Goshen Health County.
Right here.
What his reasoning is, so this is the burden of the applicant to prove what's hardship, it's not for us to clarify it for him.
Landy, want to ask a question?
No, I was going to try to explain the hardship here.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Would a simple redesign of the dock solve the problem?
It probably would, but to be honest, I'm a subcontractor. I mean, this is just crazy, but I really can't afford to move it anymore. I mean, if they wanted me to, I probably would just say I'm not getting it because I really can't afford to move that lift. I'm already stretching to do what I'm doing. I'm removing the old one and putting in the new one, and I just can't. I mean, construction's not that great right now, and I just can't afford to remodel the whole dock to do that. I work in the community. I work for a lot of different pool companies, and I'm a subcontractor, and I'm trying to keep my employees going, and I just really don't have the finances to do that.
Okay, what I'm going to do at this moment, in case anybody has any questions, I'm going to have Gary sit down, and then we'll open up public comment in case anybody wants to say anything, and we'll have a discussion. How's that? Okay? Gary, can I have you sit? No, thank you. Back to you. Okay? I'm going to open the public comment now. Is there anyone who'd like to come up at this time?
Hello, I'm Dan Usio. I live at 447 Harbor Drive South. I'm Barry's next door neighbor.
Okay.
So if you look at that picture that they put up of the dock, my dock is the one that would be the closest to it or impacted by this. To help Barry in this, because Barry's just a really nice guy trying to explain what he wants to do, it's the cost. They put a lot of money into that house when they moved into it. Being the next door neighbor, I was happy to see it. They made a beautiful home, beautiful dock, and a pool in the backyard. And then they realized they needed 2 boat lifts instead of a boat lift and a jet ski, which they had paid to do those first ones. So without speaking for Barry, but as his neighbor, I would say the hardship for him is he's spent and put a good amount of money into the community, has a beautiful backyard, beautiful dock. What he's adding to it is really, he's taking jet skis away, putting a fishing boat there. It doesn't impact me. It doesn't really push on that part as the neighbor who would most directly be affected by it. I don't have a problem.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to come up at this time? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public comment. Who'd like to start? I just don't have a problem with it.
I don't have a problem with the variance or the fact that, yeah, he doesn't want to reinvent the entire dock, but he wants 2 boats out there. And the fact that the very next door neighbor is going like, yeah, he ought to have it, that there's no conflict. I mean, because the hardship is the cost to reinvent that dock.
Well, but he's going 9 feet into the required 12-foot side setback.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'd attorney to address hardship related to the cost of work.
Thank you. So at the outset, I stated this is a quasi-judicial proceeding. In a quasi-judicial proceeding, you are looking to the city's existing law. In that case, you're looking at codes as they speak to variances. In the past, I've circulated memoranda on how a variance analysis works. When you're talking about a hardship, you're typically talking about a hardship to the land, hardship of the land. In the context that you see this most in your community is I've got a pie-shaped lot, I want to square off, and if my lot was shaped like every other normal lot, it wouldn't be a big deal for me to extend my house back another 10 feet and not get within a foot of the setback. That's one, or one you may see in other communities is a fence can only be so, let's say 7 feet high, but the property itself undulates and I want to make my fence up to 10 feet from the lowest point so it's even, things like that. So typically a hardship is not reviewed from an economic standpoint or from but I really, I wish to do this in absence of variance, I cannot. A hardship is typically analyzed along the specific to the criteria of the features of the property issue. Secondarily, another one of the criteria that you look to is that the variance sought is the minimum variance necessary. Ultimately, that's a decision you folks make in both contexts. My analysis is offered to remind you of what the criteria is. Ultimately, you folks, as the fact finder, quasi-judicial party here, ultimately make the determination.
I mean, we're basically following the letter of the law. But to Jude's point, I see where, the dock could be removed. You could turn it into a walkway and make room for 2 boat docks and still have the variance there. I would personally like to have 2 boat docks, but I also see it from another perspective for boaters coming by and boaters in the canal seeing literally a wall of boats instead of, some of the houses or some of the different variances. A visual I can basically see is a marina versus a neighborhood. If you go to the back of the marina, all you're going to see is one boat after another, and that's a concern for me. But predicated on, the definition of hardship, that kind of sets it, in motion. And again, we do have a board that, gave us some direction as well.
Joe, what are your thoughts?
Voter, this is a different look for me, but completely understand prerogative. However, for one, I don't see the land does not really meet that hardship test, right? I mean, when we've done kind of looked at these in the past, they have been pie-shaped lots where where the lines have converged towards the water and towards the dock. This actually goes the other direction, actually gets a little wider out in the water. And I know it's a financial situation, but there is enough room to put 2 lifts there in compliance.
One of them is difficult for us.
In my view. I mean, I know it seems logical, but there's a 63-foot lot, 63 and a half. And I appreciate the neighbor standing up.
Me too.
And good, bad, or different may not always be that neighbor, right? The next person may have the problem, right? We've seen that in front of this board before on different things. So just, I mean, in my particular case, I don't feel that it fits the definition of hardship. And like I said, if you take the flag out of the lot or the flag out of the dock and just do a catwalk between the 2, there appears to be enough room to accomplish the goal without reinventing and redesigning the lot, in my opinion.
commissioners, if you'll indulge me just because I was speaking from memory earlier, specifically, when you're considering variances, you're looking to subpart B of your code, section 110-101, sub B, which provides that in order to recommend or decide any variance from the terms of subpart B, the board or the city commission shall consider each of the following. A, special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, and which are not applicable to other land, structures, or buildings in the same zoning district. B, the special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. C, granting the variance will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by subpart B to the other land, structures, or buildings in the same zoning district. Item D, literal interpretations of the provisions of subpart B would deprive other properties in the same zoning district under the terms of subpart B. Subpart B is your land development code, and would work unnecessary and undue hardship on the applicant. Item E, the variance granted is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, structure, or building. And item F, the granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the land development code of subpart B, and such variance will not be injurious to the area involved or be otherwise detrimental to the public health. Those are the criteria you consider when considering variance, as I believe restated in the staff report.
Any other comments from the commission? Eddie, do you have anything else you want to say?
No, not at this time.
Barry, would you like to come up and say anything else before the commission makes the decision? Yes, sir.
Sorry about that. After listening to what everyone said, I was thinking back when Barry first brought this idea up. It's because his jet ski dock, if you look at the picture, he has to come out toward my property, toward my boat and my jet skis. And it's more dangerous for me that somebody hits a boat or a jet ski with the jet ski coming out. The lift that he was proposing with the boat was coming straight in and out. I know it does present wider from looking at the water, but to me, it's a safer situation for the use of the jet skis and the boats that we both have on our dock. So that was the original conversation, I know, when they were redesigning it. And I know that wasn't in there, but after listening to you, I just wanted to put that out there for you to think about that.
Thank you. What is your name again, just so we know?
Dan Musio, 447 Harbor Drive South.
Thank you. I'm going to close the public comment. Looking forward to some kind of a motion. One of the things that's difficult for the commission while I'm waiting for them is we all want everyone to have good use of their property. And many of us are boaters, we're out on the water. But on the other side of it, when you sit up here and we have laws that we have to interpret and that we're supposed to abide by, that's when these things come into a problem. And specifically, if there was a way of doing something different, that's the problem that the commission today is having with this variance. And that being said,
Well, I struggle with it too. I have a boat dock and a son that loves to go fishing as well. So I feel I'm emotionally tied to you, but I feel constrained to the law, and it grieves me to do that. I want to sit there and help you work out your plan and put a dock in there. But if I'm listening to the city attorney and using the criteria, it simply doesn't meet standard. And I can't make the last time I did it in the positive and the negative, and I didn't do it correctly, I think.
You can make a motion however you wish, whether it's to affirm or deny. I'll make sure that it's clear for the body what the motion is once it's seconded.
So I'm hesitant on it, but
We do need a motion from the body at this
Yes.
stage.
I'll take the lead on that then. I motion to deny PO case number 2023-04.
There's a motion to deny on the floor, Madam Chair. Is there a second?
is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any comments from the maker or the second?
Just as Lamb alluded, we would all love to do this. But we do have specific criteria we have to deal with. And it's not only today, but well into the future, depending on who owns the property and so forth. But I way, maybe a little bit, take part of that dock out, a couple more pilings in, get your fishing boat back, because that hurts me. To know you don't have your fishing boat, so, personally, but that's it.
Maybe we could have a party and help.
Yeah, right. Have a dock party.
Lan, anything else you'd like to say this week?
I think Joe said it. Joe said it all. Joe said it.
Any other comments? No, please. Vice Mayor? Or do we call the roll, please?
Before the clerk calls the roll, I do want to make sure it's clear. The motion on the floor has been made in the negative. That is a motion to deny the relief requested. So a yes or an aye vote is to deny the relief requested. I want to make sure you're clear on that before we go. With that, Clerk.
Commissioner Call,
Yes.
Commissioner Husband,
No.
Commissioner Warren,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bond,
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Your vote of 4-1, the variance request is denied.
I'm sorry. Can't get the party together and we've got a whole group here to come over and do it.
I've got a hammer, okay? And plenty of stainless steel screws.
Very good.
With that, our 6B has been rescheduled to a later date, and we will move on to 6C, which is BOA case number 2023-06-2209 Gulf Boulevard. Randy, would you read the case?
Happy, Madam Mayor. This is Board of Adjustment case number 2023-06-2209 Gulf Boulevard. Considering a variance request from section 110-131 sub 4 sub F sub 1 of the Code of Ordinances of 15 feet into the required 25-foot front yard setback, resulting in a total setback of 10 feet, and from section 110-344-1 of the Code of Ordinances for an increase of 3 feet above the required 1 foot above grade for the pool height, resulting in a pool height of 4 feet above the adjacent finished grade for the installation of 2 pools, swim spas for the property located at 2209 Gulf Boulevard, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, and legally described as Lot 3, Block 45, revised map of Indian Beach subdivision recorded in Plat Book 5, page 6 of the Public Records of Pinellas County, Florida, parcel number 013014-42030-0460030. This is again a quasi-judicial proceeding. Before we proceed, has any member of this body had any ex parte communications with applicant or agent or any party to these proceedings?
Yeah.
All having responded in the negative, has any member of this body conducted a site visit for the purpose of evaluating this application?
No.
All having responded in the negative, will anybody who intends to rise and speak on this matter, please stand and raise your right hand at this time to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you are going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Having been sworn, Ms. Harmon, it's your presentation first.
This property is located at 2209 Gulf Boulevard. It has been constructed, they were just showing that they wanted to put these 2 pools in the front yard here. Originally, when this project was approved, they had, see it on the top, maybe up on the top here, that was supposed to be outdoor living. That's how the plans were approved. They were supposed to be a pergola, and like a swim spa on the top. Since it's been constructed, they don't feel comfortable with that, and they're requesting to put like these swim spas in the front yard along Gulf Boulevard. Okay, yeah, let's see, the BOA board recommended denial 5-0, the staff recommended denial, and there were, I think, 4 letters of objections that were sent in.
Does anyone have any comments or questions for Eddie before I ask the applicant if they'd like to come forward? Can you put what they look like again? I want to see that picture.
I think this is fairly close to what that I know this was showing that the one before was showing like dimensions of the size.
Eddie, just real quick, maybe I saw maybe you're right up or city's right up. Is there?
Can you talk into your mic?
Yeah, sure. You actually want me to talk to you? Okay. Yeah, maybe I'll do that, just not to myself. And forgive me for not knowing this, but did I see there is a difference in our code based on the amount of gallons that a swim spa / hot tub carry?
Correct, yeah, our spa is actually 500 square gallons, this one's like over 1,200 gallons.
And that's-
They still,
that's the
neither of them
variance.
are allowed in the front yard setback, so
Oh,
I was trying to determine what to call these.
Okay.
And they're also elevated, which, you know, we don't allow a pool to be elevated, a spa could be elevated for 4 feet, but not a pool. And just the main thing is they wanted to put these spas in the front yards.
I see the overhead views of the photo of the lot.
Of the lot, okay. They've got, now they have spiral staircases that go up the front, that go up to the back.
Any other questions for Heidi? Hearing none, would the applicant, would you like to come forward, ma'am?
He stood up to swear in, but can I?
Yes, I'll just swear you in right before.
Yes. Oh, no, I swear in
But
too.
that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're free to speak, state your name and address, and then, I'm sorry, you're out of time.
I can give you my initials.
Please state your name, address, and then proceed with your presentation on the application.
Yes, my full name is Tatiana Dragailo. I go by Tanya, and we live at, well, we own 2209 Gulf Boulevard. Can you guys hear me? It's Tatiana Dragailo at 2209 Gulf Boulevard, and it's so nice to meet you in person. I've been working with Hetty in emails, and just a compliment, she's been amazing to work with. And I'll give you guys a little background. I'm originally from Clearwater, so me and my mom cleaned the Scopello buildings our whole life. So it's our dream to be part of the Indian Rocks Beach community. I got married and we moved out, so we had an opportunity to build a family dream. And my parents will be retiring and moving in, and we gifted them the smaller unit on the left side, and we are keeping open the bigger unit for ourselves as a vacation home. We have 4 kids. We have 13 kids in our family altogether, me, my brother, and my sister. So we bought this property already with plans and engineering done. So all we needed to do was basically submit it for permits. So it's not like we had a chance to design the plans. And in our mind, we thought, oh, these are jacuzzis, we could throw this in our backyard. And then we were made known that our entire backyard technically is our driveway because they don't allow us to enter into our property through Gulf Boulevard, as that's something that they changed with the county. So our technically front yard is our backyard. And we had to build a whole alleyway driveway, which we did, and our parking is in the back, if that makes sense. And when the spiral staircase, that whole design was made to the rooftop, I don't know who's going to go up there because that is really scary. It's 3 stories up, and we all have small kids. All of our kids are 10 years to newborn. We really want, well, we bought this thinking we would be able to put the swim spas, or we thought they were jacuzzis. So when we purchased them, we spent over $30,000. We were told that they're jacuzzis and we don't need a permit. And we thought we could put them in the back, and then when the back had to be constructed into the long easement driveway and parking, we said our only option is, we spent $2 million on this home. It's a beautiful addition. We love it. We love the neighborhood. Don't think that we're so excited that we want these things in the front yard. So we spent over $17,000 just in landscaping so far to try to cover up the front so you can't see these swim spa jacuzzis because we weren't aware. We literally had them delivered in June, and that's when we were known on the day of delivery as they're dropping them off. code enforcement came and said, oh, you guys can't have these, and we have no idea. So we're kind of in this situation where our property in Hetty was wonderful to work with to try to see what we could do. We can shift, and we were thinking about this, the swim spas this way, so we would only need a 7-foot variance because they can go this way or that way. And we've already done, all the landscaping is like bricks with all the electricals, all of them pre-wired and done to have these installed. So technically, we don't have a backyard. Because of the new requirements for Gulf Boulevard, we can't enter through the front, we have to enter through the side. And our next door neighbor, which is that blue house, I'm not sure, it's called the Blue Lizard. It's like they have this exact swim spa, but they have it in the backyard because they're able to have their backyard as their backyard because they're able to enter through their front yard because they have, they built ahead of time before the rules changed, so they're able to have that parking. Because if we weren't required to have that as parking, we would put it in the back, even for kids and, everything else. But we plan to keep these as temporary as soon as kids grow up,
I'm so sorry, but your time is up. I'm sorry, the timer wasn't working, so I timed it.
That's okay. Do you have any other thing that you want to say before I ask the commission if they have any questions for you? Any questions?
So your next door neighbor has one of these in
Exactly.
their back,
Exactly.
but
But
we're not allowed to have elevated spots.
you are allowed, I think, within, it's not allowed.
No, that's not the issue.
Okay.
The issue is having an elevated spot or a hot tub or a pool in the front yard. We don't allow, that's not
Okay.
allowed. The property next door, they have one in the back and their access is off the back. So the issue is there's nowhere in the city where we allow pools and these big hot tubs in the front yard. That's what the issue is.
Can I make a comment on that? Yes, there are a few properties that don't have Gulf Boulevard that actually do have a pool in the front yard. But I was speaking with Hetty, she said that they did request when they were building, which is a few properties down. And then there's a home, I think it's 720 Indians Trail, that was able to put a pretty big pool, and I have pictures in the front yard.
Yeah, the one on, it's base, which is 719 Beach Trail there, but it is not in the front yard, they have a 25-foot setback.
Oh, it's in the front, but with after the setback.
Right,
Oh.
right, and then the other one I think she's referring to is the walk, which was a PUD, that we did allow the pool to go, approach into the front yard setback.
What do you think your hardship is?
We don't have a backyard because we were required to have the alley in our backyard had to be moved to our front yard. So we literally don't, and we did follow all the surveys, we've invested all the money, even the 2 properties next to us, we did all the architectural engineering and everything that was required by the City of Indian Rocks and Pinellas County. We've invested over $67,000 just for that alleyway to make sure that we met everything with the flooding and everything you guys required to make sure that we had that access because we don't have the front access. And they made us pour the concrete and do everything up front, which costs an extra $15,000 to make sure that we don't have that drive-in. And we fully did that, and then we fully fenced in the property. Because I know we would do that regardless of requirement or not, just because we wanted to make sure we're private. Our property is fully fenced in, fully gated. We have security cameras in every corner. My parents will be living on site as a part of their retirement.
Any other questions?
So the only way to the roof is this spiral staircase?
Yes.
Who designed that?
To be honest, when we bought this, the fact that, I don't even know, an engineer, I guess, or the architect, and they were saying, because we discussed this with Hetty, I was thinking like, if someone wanted to break into our place, they just, now we have front gates, they could hop over the fence, they could just literally have access to get up to the roof and do whatever, but they saying that it was a safety and fire, something to do with safety and fire code, as if someone goes up there, they should be able to exit without having to enter the home if something were, God forbid, to happen. But our entire construction is concrete and metal, so it's like a bunker. We don't have any wood and we're fully fireproof. But that's the only access to it.
And the pools cannot be sent back?
No, because that's where the spiral stair, they did the way where in the front we have like a exit from the other side of the garage, and that's where the spiral staircase is, and that's where the 25-foot setback is. And we were on a phone call with Hetty on a video trying to see what we could do here or there, and we are willing to do whatever it takes, but we're just kind of at this point where there's nowhere where we can put it to meet it within the setback. We either need to put it this way or this way, where it's at least a 7.5-foot setback, which would put it in front of the spiral staircase. But it's like a full patio, so our front yard is technically our backyard. Yes, sir.
So your family owns both units,
Yeah, but we own, me and my husband do, yes.
but you're asking for 2 spots out of the area. Why
So
couldn't
it's
you
two-
put one in between?
So one unit is for my parents and one is technically for us. They had it pre-wired for 2. We will take one. We'll just have to talk to the, and here's another thing, when we ordered these, we signed a non-returnable contract, nothing to do with you guys. So we're gonna have to see what,
But that would put you in variance.
no.
Well, no, because of the front.
Yeah, it would.
Because of the front yard.
Yeah, so it's because it's technically a co-home, it's like a duplex. Yeah, so that's why it has 2 separate sides. I'll take one. It's not the, at this point, we're just desperate, we're just in a stuck situation.
Please,
I'm
yes.
gonna have you sit for just a second, you sit right up here.
Problem solving, I should have.
I get it.
Greg, did you want to?
Back to the criteria of what a variance is, and when we talked about the last application, the city, not the city, and I get their issue, I fully get their issue. But the city's not in the business of designing the layout of somebody's property. I can tell you, and Randy makes it clear to the commissioner over and over again that each variance stands on its own. You approve a pool in the front yard of a piece of property that got already open up a huge problem. I'm just telling you what that's going to create. It's very unfortunate that they're in the circumstance they're in, that that's not a city issue. I'm sorry, but it's not.
Greg, I want to ask you though, and I'm just going to say this, as far as the hardship though, that property with the parking changed in the back, you don't think that?
No, I do not. Just because you have a townhouse, a duplex, or a home, city regulations are not set up in place or in play where the city gives allowances just so you can put a pool. That's not the city's responsibility to do that. But ultimately, because ultimately it's back to the design question. Based on what I've understood the applicant say, they bought into a project that was already designed. That's not a city issue.
I get that.
So a lot of houses don't have pools. So we're not obligated to automatically accommodate a pool and waive our rules. This is a big thing. I'm just telling you this. We get hit all the time with people that want to go pool, particularly on Gulf Boulevard. If you want to do that, just amend the land code and just allow them. But just because they were required, it was a county thing. Required to come off the back, that is not a hardship because we don't have to have provisions in our code to allow everybody with every piece of property the ability to put a pool where they want to. That's not a hardship.
Ultimately, whether or not it is a hardship is a determination for the fact finder, so that is for, you've heard staff's opinion on the matter and testimony. Ultimately, you folks are deciding whether or not criteria are assessed.
Yes.
Now, Hetty, you said before, if I'm not mistaken, that this spa thing would be non-compliant anyway?
That's correct. Anything in the front yard.
So even before we get to the matter of where you put it, we got a problem?
Right, that's correct. I just wanted to make you aware that the rear yard setback in the P1 district is 15 feet. And if you look on the tie-in survey here, the setback of the main structure is like 15 feet. what they did at 720 Gulf Boulevard was they made the house taller and, smaller and put the pool in this area here.
Does anyone have any questions for the applicant before I go to public comment?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
can we, I heard reference to several letters from neighbors. Can we hear those?
Those are in the,
They're
they're in the
in
agenda
the-
materials.
You did read it?
Yes. There's no requirement that they be read into the record.
That they be read, okay.
They are part of the record by their
Okay.
submission, just like the staff reports not read in full.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to open the public comment. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on this agenda item at this time? Hearing none, I'm closing the public comment. Hetty, do you want to say anything else?
Not at this time.
Okay, would you like to, it's Tanya, come on up. Do you want to say anything else?
You don't have to, it's just, it's your choice. You can literally decline, that's fine. It's ultimately your case, your call.
And, well, I will say, the next door neighbor that has the bed and breakfast, it's a rental, he did say that he had the front one, and he did feel bad. I don't know, he doesn't live on site. We met one time in June, because he's able to have parking. So same thing for 719. Even, I know you're saying that we don't have the back setback, but they're able to also use the front part, even in front of the pool, as parking, and have that access from Gulf Boulevard.
No, they can't. No, they cannot access off of Gulf Boulevard. That's why they access off of the beach trail.
Oh, okay, because their builder told me, I went over there, and they said that they're building out of the parking lot. They're going to be parking there, so.
That's not true.
Okay. That's what I was told.
Well, we need to check that out.
Yeah.
So I
If
got.
you go by right now, they're putting bollards out there and some landscaping and some rope, some fence type of.
And it was, I talked to them in June, so when I was here last, so that's just.
Any comments about this?
This is just really a tough situation.
I know.
They're in place and she's ready to plop her kids in there and have fun. And we have to tell her she can't.
Joe, any comments about anything? You got any brilliant ideas?
Put them on the road.
Struggling with that.
Is that still feasible?
It's really a huge safety risk. It's just one wrong move, someone.
Ain't that always?
You may not notice, but he's in a wheelchair. I'll let him tell you the story.
He's going to get better. Plan, anything? Make a motion.
It grieves me, but I'd like to make a motion to deny the request for variance on the front yard, Gulf Boulevard, and size. 209 Gulf Boulevard.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Anything else that either the motion maker or the second would like to say?
Before the roll is called, the motion on the floor again has been made in the negative, so please be reminded, an aye or yes vote is a vote to deny the relief variance.
Lauren, would you like to take the roll?
Commissioner McCall?
Yes.
Commissioner Esper?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Vaughn?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes. Motion is denied. And I'm very sorry, but this has been a terrible night. It's an awful night. It's never like this either. I feel terrible that, but we do go by the law here, and that's what the problem is. I do apologize, but I try to get it back and do whatever.
Thank you for the recommendation, I think that we could do.
The question on the floor was, from the floor, was whether we had any recommendations on what she could do. And again, this board's not in a position to do planning or legal advice. In as much as the law was a problem tonight, to quote Taylor Swift, I am the problem it's made. We can't offer any guidance in that respect.
I'll be honest. The guidance is in the adopted ordinance. The guidance is in the adopted land development code. And anytime the commission believes that you need to change the criteria, you can do that. But the guidance is in the ordinance. It's kind of played like we over in the staff table are coming up with reasons to turn people's stuff down. That's in our ordinance that the commission adopted.
I don't think any of us thought that way.
You can change that. I know there's this kind of tone of we're sorry or whatever. We're enforcing the ordinances that y'all passed. What we're doing. So that's good.
Can I ask one more question? What is the reason for not allowing, is there a safety risk or something that you guys are concerned about?
The hearing is concluded at this time, and the stated rationale in their statements is that the criteria that I talked about before have not been satisfied. And so it's not about like the design beyond, in order to get this, you need to show A, B, C, D, E, F, and their determination was A, B, C, D, E, F not satisfied. Namely, for example, the placement of the spas is allowed somewhere. It may not be the most desirable location given your concerns, and I'm not saying your concerns are valid, but that is one of the criteria they look to, is this the minimum variance necessary? And the record evidence was it could be placed elsewhere.
Oh, no, that wasn't my question. My question is the ordinance itself. What was the reason you're trying not allowing?
Oh, that's a whole
That's a whole different, okay.
Certainly right to you.
I'm going to move on to other legislative matters, agenda item number 7. We have none. We have a work session discussion of golf carts. Agenda item number 8. Randy, would you like to deliver this?
Okay. No, sorry. So I did provide you with a memorandum on Friday concerning golf carts. This is, I don't like the use of the phrase, but the recommendation here is really what we would call a housekeeping matter. The law has changed since we enacted our golf cart ordinance. At the time that we enacted the golf cart ordinance back in 2020, the fall of 2020, the law provided that a person of the age of 14 or older could lawfully operate a golf cart. The law has since changed such that if you are 18 or younger, you can do so with a driver's license or a learner's permit, or learner driver's license as it's called in the law. If you're over 18, you can operate a golf cart as long as you have some government-issued identification. It does not have to be a driver's license if you're over the age of 18. So our code presently says 14. We're recommending that in light of this recent change in the law, that your ordinance be changed as well to align with the current state of the law and avoid any confusion by your community members as to what is or is not permitted. From a policy standpoint, the intuitive reason for this statutory change was when it was 14, a law enforcement officer had no ability to look at somebody on a golf cart and definitively determine what age they were beyond the person telling them, no, I'm 14. Okay, can you prove it? No, I don't have any ID. I'm 14. Why would I have ID? So that has changed at the legislative level, and staff is recommending that you authorize us to prepare an ordinance. Just given the amount of attention golf carts have received in the past, rather than just come with the ordinance ready, we wanted to make sure you understood why and what we were changing. And that's what we're doing. There was something else I wanted to say from the beginning. This is specific to golf carts. I want to make that very clear that there is a legal distinction between a golf cart and a low-speed vehicle, though some people can make one look like the other. It's about a 5 mile per hour difference in the law, but those 5 miles per hour buy you seatbelts, lights, registration with the state, and otherwise. So there is a meaningful difference, as in the memo that I circulated to you last week with the exhibits to those.
Does anyone have any questions for Randy also, are we good with Randy preparing a document ordinance to bring back to us? Is everybody in agreement to that?
I'm good with that.
Yes.
Yes.
Good? Okay. All right.
Be nice to settle that.
Yes, perfect, okay. You know what your business is here?
Got it.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other business to come before this board tonight?
No.
Hearing none?
Well, on a similar vein, I think when we were gonna revisit the motorized vehicles on the beach. when we
Oh, the
did that.
electric bicycles?
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
Parking is different than
Yeah,
how we
let's not wrap
regulate,
the two together.
how we regulate multimodal transportation. But as it relates to multimodal transportation, I'd have to check on the dates. My recollection was at the time that we adopted the ordinance in 2020, the community did not have the explicit legal authority to regulate e-bikes on the beach. My recollection is that that changed during, if not the 21, certainly the 2022 legislative session. And so if that is a prohibition you wish to impose, we have the authority to prohibit electronic bicycles on the beach. You speak, but only do it on streets, sidewalks, like sidewalks and a few other places. Sidewalks, parks, and things like that, and trails. And they added the beach to that list, is my recollection. Forgive me as I did not come prepared specifically to address that item. But yes, it is my recollection that the authority on that has changed. And if the commission desires to change that same, that is within the same chapter, it could be addressed.
I'm keen on it.
I have consensus direction, I can include that language, and if it's not something within our authority, I'll make that known to you once I'm actually
Okay.
looking at that, as I didn't specifically remember it.
I think maybe you and I were talking about this, California had all sorts of weird designations for different types of assistance, but there's the difference between bicycles that are assisted or ones that require electricity.
Yes, the Florida legal system, I presented extensively on this. What I will do is, after tonight's meeting, perhaps tomorrow morning, send you the materials I prepared stating the full state of the law and everything from autonomous vehicles up to golf carts and LSVs, and then you can look at those materials, and if any of you have questions, you can contact me about that.
Thank you. I don't need it.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Ah.
Thank you. Our next